Hello folks. Okay, so here we are. We have a CRV. We have a new head for it, so we're gonna compression test it, and hopefully it is the head. When we take off the old head, we'll know for sure if it's the head or not. But we have a head gasket kit, new head and everything. It is a 2.0 Honda CRV. It's been sitting for a while. Interior is pretty moldy. The main thing we want to do is take off the head, and hopefully it is the head, and then we can have the direction go from there. But first things first, we're going to compression test it, and we're going to take off the hood, compression test it, and then take the head off. Right, so we ran a compression test on this. I don't know if the gauge wasn't working or if the compression is leaking back out. It did run like crap. So cylinder 1, cylinder 2, to me seems like it had lower compression. I didn't bring my compression gauge, so I wasn't able to accurately test the compression, which would have been the best idea. But I was called on just doing a head. But before just doing anything, I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, because if it's the bottom end and we do a head, which costs $600 plus other parts and components and time, then then it adds up it adds up pretty quick. And then the engine is doing the same thing, the customer wouldn't be happy. So so I'm just running a couple more tests prior to doing that. When I get the head off, I'll know more. I'll be able to let them know, hey, you know what, I don't think it's just gonna be the head, I think you just need the whole bottom end. And in that case, you could just go to local auto rigging and pick up a block for $700-800. These are not that expensive. For sure you'll get it under $1,000. And this has 180,000 miles on it. So I know somebody put a timing belt on it, and I think she took it into not this owner, but the person who had it before took it in, and they told her that a couple of cylinders were dead. There was some compression, obviously, because I was able to run it, but yes, the customer had got the head, but I don't think it's gonna be the head. I think it's gonna be more down low. But the point is, I'm here now, so I'm gonna figure things out. Right now, what I'm gonna do, I got all the spark plugs off, so I'm gonna put this in here, which is it's a little grabbing tool, but you're able to flex it, but I can fold it straight. So right now it should be on top of the cylinder. Then I'm gonna grab these two, and I'm gonna top dead center it, so then I'll know where the piston is stroking by the movement of this. When it goes all the way up, then we know that the piston's at top dead center, and obviously these two arrows need to correlate with the piston, so then that way I know prior to me taking off the head that whoever did the timing was done right and everything, which I don't think that would make a big difference, but still we want to make sure we double check everything before we just go ahead and do something. So we're gonna move it, get these lines timed, and we'll go from there. So and it starts to go down. Cool. So that means that's the stroke up. Cool. Belt's a little loose, but I know it's not that old, or they didn't do it right. But yeah, no, it's way too loose. But regardless, it's still in time. So we know that it's timed right. You have a dot here, you have another mark here, 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 and then obviously these two, this is the intake, this is the exhaust. It's facing up, so I mean I don't think the timing was done super good, but still it's in see how much play that has. It shouldn't be like that. Go back up and try to stretch it out. Definitely the timing belt is not. Doesn't look too old. You can tell somebody did it, but it's just not right. I'm looking at the harmonic balancer there, so that should be. I think it could go a tooth back. Probably could go a tooth back, but I don't think that's gonna make a big difference in it if we were to retime it and try to get it started again. But I mean, yeah, it is a tooth off, which that will just make it run, you know, a little bit different, but not what it's doing right now. So, and I mean, we can see that this cam load is pretty low, so that can also cause that. So I'm gonna get a gauge. I'm gonna measure the highest setting and then the lowest setting, and then also we're gonna see the head that he got to see if it comes with cams. Because if it doesn't, then it's not even a good deal. If it doesn't come with the cams, because you're paying $600 for a head, and then you're gonna put these cams in it. And if normally it's not the head that's bad, to me it almost seems like this cam lumps are kind of already worn. Especially this one has a lot of wear in it. And you can also tell by the sharpness on the sides. But the best thing to do is to measure this, the load here. So, but anyways, we're here, so we're gonna take it apart, take the head off, and then we'll know the internals of the block. Because right now I'm suspecting that it's the actual block. Point period, I think instead of doing the head on this, it should have been complete engine or rebuild of the engine. But obviously we're out in the field right now, so we're at the customer's house. So what we're gonna do is just take it apart, give them the information, and then I think we're probably gonna go a different direction than just the head. We might just take the head back, get a used engine, and freshen it up and put it back together. Which, don't get me wrong, we could do this, but this would probably require bearings or piston rings, all that. Because I think it's way more than just the head. So that's what we're doing. Even though we were just called to do the head, we want to make sure we do the right thing for the customer and not just throw parts at it. Alright, so I got that bolt out, which is very hard to do. I actually put this pry bar on that, stuck it across the across the suspension, and it helped a lot. So yeah, this is a very good tool that you're gonna need for working on all these older Hondas. This holds on to the harmonic balancer, and then you put your 19 millimeter, and you're able to torque on it. With this, it'll bind up here on the frame. But the best thing to do is put a pry bar so you get more leverage. Very, very good tool. Very important tool. All right. So the other thing I see on this is that there's no bolt in the alternator. It's kind of just sandwiched in the inside, and then with it being tensioned, I mean, it's just by luck that it's on there. So I'm gonna take this off, take all the belts off, take this off, take the timing components off, so I can take the head off, and then kind of look at the inside. A lot of rusty stuff here. Looks like somebody replaced the cap. And another good thing is it hasn't been stolen, so, or maybe somebody stole it. I don't know. But while I'm doing all the other work, I hit it with a WD-40. That way, when I get to that point, I'm able to take it off. So, but very important tool for you to have is this. You can get cheaper ones. This one's from Blue Point, so it's a little bougie. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be the head. It's gonna be the actual block. But I want to make sure to take it off because he did get the head. And then once I look inside, then I'll be able to know a little more. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the bottom end. Anyways, we'll keep going. Hello, once again. We're back here on the CRV. We're gonna finish up the head. We actually got the new head. So we have the new head, new cams, lifters. We're just gonna transfer over a couple things. We're obviously gonna use the sprockets, these studs for the valve cover. Obviously we're gonna use the intake, and I believe a couple sensors here and there. So we'll use this, the temp sensors, and then this spout. This one's a little corroded, but we could clean that up. We're gonna need this for sure. Overall, what we're looking at, making sure that the head matches. I mean, everything looks good. We noticed that this one had chipped valves, so that actually makes sense with the compression dropping on cylinder 1 and 2. We have first we have a head gasket kit. This includes the head gasket, valve cover, and a couple of, we won't need these because the head's already been pre-assembled with the valve stems. But it does have pretty much everything you need. We're gonna definitely need these for the cams. And then we have a new water pump. Another important thing that you're gonna need is assembly lube. You want to put it in all the places that you don't want them to prematurely wear. So we have all the components ready to go. We have new head bolts. Same thing, you want to put some lube on the head bolt so you can torque them. First things first, we're going to clean the deck out. Obviously finish the water pump. We had some issues with the rust in one of the bolts. As you can see, some of the parts are really kind of rusty, so that bolt almost didn't come out, but we were able to take it out. So we're gonna finish up the water pump and then clean the deck, vacuum it all out, clean out the cylinders, and get this head on there, and then I'll take this off. Don't need to do that right now, but just want to make sure that everything's the same. And then so we have to take everything back off of this. This was just put on here for assembly. Obviously nothing's adjusted, so but we have to take this out so we can get to the head bolts, and then we'll put it back together. So we'll just set it to the side, and they're actually numbered. So I1, I2, I3, that means intake, and then E is exhaust. So that's exhaust, bridge 1, bridge 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So yep, and yep, we also have the seal there. I saw it right there, so that's good. So I'm pretty sure we have everything. We have new head bolts. We're just gonna get the work done. So this is the second chapter on this. The second day on this, so we should have it all together and running by the end of the day. So let's get to it. It's only missing 3, but I'm gonna take them all out before we ship it back. The new head didn't come with some of the studs. It only came with 4 of them, which it uses all 4 on the bottom, and then just the sides I think are the only ones that are not studs. So, but I'm gonna finish taking out the rest of these here. So, but I'm gonna show you live on how to do it real quick. So you just put a nut, put it backwards, And you can just tighten it up. Grab yourself a 12 millimeter. And tightening the top nut. So that puts tension on both of them. And then I'm able to break it loose. If it's broken loose, then you can back it out. There you go. So yeah, it should have different it should have studs all along the bottom and the sides, and I think it's only 2 of them that are just the bolts by themselves, and 2 or 3 of them, not sure, but point is I'm just gonna take them all out, and then because the studs are way stronger than putting the bolt by itself, and they're a lot safer than just the bolt by itself into the aluminum, so you won't mess down. Tighten it up. When you get tension, then you're able to loosen it. After you're loosening it, then you can use the gun to knock it out. Same thing, put the thing back. And then that's how you retract the studs. Sometimes they don't come out that easy. When they're a little thicker like that, yeah, the little tiny 10 millimeter ones, sometimes they'll break. They're not strong enough. But anyways, so this is it. I'm pretty sure, I think I only gotta use the guides now. And transfer them over to the head. The rest of the bridges and cams, obviously this other head has a new cam and stuff, so but it was missing these studs, so we want to make sure we put all the studs the way in the bottom, and then just leave the outside bolts in it. So that's it. We got the spout, the hose for the radiator spout, and then this one goes into the throttle body. There's the turn sensor, and then you have this is for the actual sensor, which is just the little needle that reads on the gauge, and then you have this, which goes to the heater hose. Then you have these 2 other bolts that you're gonna have to reuse, and these are for the cam sprockets, so we definitely needed those, but for sure we needed these studs because this head didn't come with them. So as you can see, this only has 1, 2, 3, 4, and all along the bottom they all need to be studs in towards the center. The only outside ones here and these 2 here are actual bolts. So we got everything. Now we can set this aside, put it back in the box for the core, and he can get his core back, his money back on the core. And then now we can finish off the deck. We have everything that we need for the head, all the components, including all these studs. You want to make sure you get all these before you send them back. You don't want to send it back with the head and then you need them. Last thing I got to do is take out these guides. This right here is what guides the head, so it can into the block. These are just guides. If you miss them, you can just do it. But these are very helpful to guide it in, and it helps it so it centers it correctly. So now that's the last thing we got to take off, and then onto the engine. Alright, so I took out one of the bridges, the one for the distributor, so then that way it can sit equal. So it's kind of you know, flush. I also put the spark plug back in it. That way we can fill this up and we can see if there's a leak. So as you can see, the fluid leaking through the head there. So you can see it all. You can see right where the exhaust was leaking. So we're gonna turn over the cam and then we'll check the next couple of them and see what else. But you can see how there's no, this should be full all the way up to here. But since this one has a chip in it, it's just bypassing and just leaking through. And it should be coming out, there it is. It should be coming out through the exhaust. So the exhaust valves are messed up. So it wasn't holding the compression in. So we're gonna do that to the next of them. Easiest thing was to take out the rockers and do it without rockers, but I'm trying to get this done. So just a quick test of how you can tell if the cylinder combustion, the top of it, is good or not. So you can tell it's not good. This should have been full with fluid. Obviously these are not going to hold because the valves are open. What else? See, this one's open too. It's because they're not, this is like top dead center. That's why. So that these should be closed, ignite, and then they open, and then the next one and the next one. So, all right, so I took all the bridges out and all the push rods and everything. That allows all the valves to close at the same time. So they're all closed. And this is just so we can see. We want this as flat as we can, as flat as possible. All right, so now that it's mostly all flat, so the reason you want it to be flat is because you want these to be kind of like little cups. And the reason you want them to be cups is so you can fill them up. That one's holding compression. And you don't have to use carb cleaner, you could use water or you can see how this one is draining. Oh, and that one too. That one's also draining. So now it makes sense. So that's very good that we did the head like that. I filled these up with a carb cleaner, and you can see how this one. You can see for sure on this one because you can actually tell there's a chip on it. And then I was a little worried because I wanted to double check, make sure that it wasn't the bottom end. So this was also dry. So the fact that this one's dry, that means that this one, when all the valves are closed, is not holding compression. So this one, so this is cylinder, let me see. So this is cylinder 4. Cylinder 4 is good. 3 is bad. 2 is good. And 1 is bad. So that's why it also had a really big stutter, because I think these go in different. Mine is 1, 2, yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think is the firing order. So it's a coincidence that these are, like that. But this is a good way that you can see. You can see I have the cams out, which allows you to see. It allows all the valves to close. And then you want it flat so you can have like a little dish bowl, so then that way it can hold the fluid. If it holds the fluid, it'll hold air, it'll hold the compression. So you can see these are completely dry already. This was completely dry. So these 2 cylinders are not good. So very good way to test before you go ahead and put a new head. So meaning that this head, as long as everything got rebuilt good, it should be good. I shouldn't have to do that to this because this was obviously compression tested and whatnot before they rebuild it. We got it from our rebuild place online, so we'll see how they do. We just got to transfer all the parts over, but this is very good test, so you can tell if the head is good or not. So and we could have also taken this head, swapped out the valves and whatnot, but time is money, and that's where we're at right now. He ordered the head, called me. Now that I did the actual test, this is actually a good thing. So we're on the right track with the head. So I just got to clean out the cylinder and get her all done. And when you open this up, you just want to make sure that it doesn't have deep scars in the inside. And it actually all looks really good, so it should be a good running engine, especially with the new head on it, which most of the majority of everything goes, that's what the head does. So it's going to be very good. And obviously we got all new components, assembly lube. Cool. Let's get her done. everything else back here has been bolted on besides a few things. The reason I put the intake on it is because as you can see, it has some rust issues. So the bolts that are holding onto the bracket, I would have taken off the bolts and then done the head and then put on the intake. So it's kind of a shortcut, but if you're strong enough, you're able to grab them both and lower it down, and it just saves you a lot of time. But the reason I did it was because the bracket is really, the bolts are really messed up, so I didn't want to deal with all that issue. So, and then this is how I took it off. I only took the 2 bolts from the bottom, which it's on good. I don't have to go in the back and tighten up all the 12s. I already tightened them up, so they're all good. Pretty much just on the top is just plug, and then 2 bolts to go up to the intake manifold. Obviously, I still gotta do the head bolts. Everything's all clean, everything's all good to go. All the studs are in. I made sure I did that on the head. Water pump's already done too. I had to swap out all the bolts too because the bolts were rusty and I didn't want to put them back in there, and then later on, if the water pump goes bad, then those bolts would be stuck in the block, and then that would be very hard to get it out. And actually that one right there was very hard for me to get out. Well, not that particular bolt, because I swapped them all out and put lube on the threads, so then that way that won't happen. So now we just got to do all the head bolts, lube them up, do the torque sequence, and start bolting it down, and then just finish building it back up. So here we go. So we did 22 and we did 63. So now I'm just gonna go back and make sure they're all good at 63. Alright, so I only did it just to keep track of which one I already did, but I did 22. And I did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, whatever, etc. And it doesn't matter which way you do it. It doesn't really matter as long as you start from here that way. So it needs to do this. So it doesn't matter which way you can, you could do 1, 2, and then do the 3 over here and the 4 over there. It doesn't matter. But just choose one, whatever. But I did 22. Actually, I tightened them all up just by hand, threaded them in, and then I finished them off with the gun, same sequence, and then I started with 22. So then I did 22, went through my sequence, and then after I was done with that sequence, I repeated 22 again. Then I did it again with 22, start again. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When I was done with 22, I did it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I bumped up the torque spec to 63, which that's the final one. And I started again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After I did that, I repeated it one more time, just because after you already have torqued them, some of them might not, or move a little bit or whatnot. Anyways, it's just an easy way for you to double check your work. You can see I put assembly lube. You need to have lube so it can slide in good, so it can pull good, and you're not messing up the teeth, the threads in it. So very good. Now it's pretty much said and done. Get that out the way, and I already had done the intake, so now time to do the cams and the seals and all that and finish her up.